that at sort of no cost, really, because it needed that to work, and in order for the next stage to occur, they need to think what's going to go in this building. So that's when we started to think, actually, if we owned a little bit of this building, what would we do? Because your heart's more in it, it's in it really, to make it work.
And did you try to provide equity into this, or did you not? Or did
no,
you
I mean, we're not agreeing on that. That's it.
This is where the concept. Okay, this is where the thought started. Okay.
So just on that, that project, sure. I mean, you actually engaged in a market study and assess what kind of retail outlets would be attracted to that kind of location building.
I mean, we weren't, but we went to the route of sort of going. Because we just started. We went through the route of going to kind of Savills and like contacts to work out what could go in there. But we were doing this all on our side, which wasn't asked for by the client. But we just wanted to get an understanding of how this thing could work. We can't really show you the information. The client's not too happy about that. So we're just showing you just our side of, also just the design side of things. But that's kind of how we took it on. And then in the end, it's very much now in the client's hands, and it's at the stage where now they're pending a sort of decision, and we'll see how we take it on from there. So,
because normally the process is developer knows the market and how to.
Exactly. Well, this is the case. This particular building is owned by a family that's in textiles. They don't do development at all. It was very much like, we have this building, we love it, we've had it for 40 years, but it's not doing it. It's actually getting very dilapidated now because it's unused. It's not safe anymore, all of that. So they came to us because they just have no idea of it. And I suppose that was part of the opportunity for us, because they were like, literally, we don't know anything, we just have the building and we have this much money, So I think it was a good opportunity in that sense. I'll just take you on to the next building. It's Falcon Wharf, which is on the river in London, and this is a very interesting job, because now, slowly that incentive factor has come in. So the fee structure for this was basically running costs plus bonus, and the bonus was both on gain and time related, obviously. So this one was a bit more special for us now. So because most of our other jobs, when we got them first, were just enough to pay for our running costs, that kind of thing. But this was now, okay, we have control over something, because we can make more money somehow. And the scheme itself is, we were originally asked to put in a hotel into an existing building, a 50-room, 5-star boutique hotel. There's a restaurant attached to the scheme as well. So that's how the project started, really. But then we sort of looked into it slightly further, and there's a whole plant floor, which is which serves the building. And we actually found a lot of dead space, so we suggested to the client, hang on, why don't you put a health club or something in here? And he sort of liked the idea, and we've sort of change of use in that floor. So we've gained him 9,000 square feet, on the 4th floor, looking out into the river. And so he liked that, and so that's the sort of idea of planning gain. And there's a lot of value in planning gain from in terms of that hierarchy we were talking about. So there was that sort of also in terms of the stages our jobs are at, again, because we're a year old, this one's actually going on site next week, so it's the first one that's going to start construction phase. And there's an important factor there. I think the team here has also worked out very different, because, purely because the client, he wanted a sort of more close-knit, a slightly informal way of working, which again comes from things like ownership, because you're all on the same side kind of thing. So now the designer, the client, the contractor, and the contractor and the client already have a sort of some sort of equity sharing deal going on. We're not in that yet, because I suppose he's testing us out or whatever when we got the job. But it's interesting that at each stage, whenever we've had to make decisions or solve certain solutions, everybody's there, and I think the process is a lot quicker and slightly different to you calling up your engineer who's totally detached from the client, and then you have to convey all the things to the engineer. So everybody's sort of channeled, focused, and I think that's quite interesting. And also, we've sort of, I'll go back to that picture here. Other ideas that we're sort of incorporating into this and introducing to the client are that actually the area itself has a lot of value, and he owns a few of the ground planes, existing buildings. And we're thinking about public space and how potentially we could master plan the river walk to include more buildings in the area. A possible marina, because transport is a slight issue where the building is. Maybe introducing a river taxi, things like that. But these are ideas that we're introducing to the client, and that we're researching ourselves and getting planning for ourselves. And I think this is really where it starts changing now from kind of traditional to. Sorry, let's go backwards now. Oh, no, that's good. Then this sort of one of our most current projects, City Park, Nairobi, Kenya. Now this project is really interesting because it's now that step up, because this is now our first equity, I suppose you'd call it equity deal. First, and we've actually, first equity deal. It's a very interesting project. It's based in a very prominent suburb next to the centre of town, Nairobi. The scheme it's a mixed-use scheme. It's looking at about 400 apartments and a private shopping centre and a commercial area, but very much within a sort of gated master plan. I don't know how many of you know about Africa here, but I mean, the value in Africa very much comes with security. Security is a very key factor in cities such as Kenya, cities such as Nairobi in Kenya. And so we were given a sort of brief to say, well, I mean, we said, okay, fine, we won't put a fee into it, and we rolled in our fees because we're totally new to it. So we said, okay, fine, we'll take floor space. So we take a certain amount of residential units and a certain amount of commercial space, and we work with it that way. And also we kind of discussed a potential, we're looking at more than just doing the design, Well, what if we start doing a bit of marketing as well? I mean, these are just ideas we're playing with, and obviously we probably have to get in specialists to do these things, but, things that we would like. So, I mean, then there's a percentage of probably on every unit that we sell, we would get a percentage of that kind of thing. So the deal is becoming more, yeah, sure.
I was just going to ask you, how did you decide on how much floor space you wanted to ask for? So in this case, we weren't rolling up in sort of a promote structure, but you were just saying, when it's all finished, give me a couple of these condos and
I mean, it was just like that.
It was just literally that. Okay.
I mean, and a lot of time we're just experimenting here, and I think the year has been like that for us. I mean, we're feeling and we're guessing, that kind of thing.
And how are you learning? I mean, so now you're getting all these new ideas. How are you Are you starting to sort of quantify square footages and meters and some of the?
I think we finally started understanding why financial people are so obsessed with numbers. But to start, because architects just, oh my God, I have to do that area schedule again, and he doesn't understand why I have to do it again. So I mean, we're getting a feel for these things, but obviously everything is coming slowly, and. The equity and the financial side is not our expertise, but it's the idea that we like and the idea that we want to incorporate. I wouldn't go too much into the scheme, but again, taking on the, adding value to the design side of things, shared courtyards and shared spaces within the scheme itself were sort of important design elements, I think, to incorporate. Because really that community and security is a very, very big factor. And I think that's where the value is. I mean, what's quite interesting as well is that we were looking at the demand in Nairobi at the moment as and potential client, and is like security a big thing. If you want security, you need a big. In Kenya, if you get a big NGO or something like that, you've got security. So we're thinking, well, I mean, what if we potentially approach the UN? There's a big gap in the market for things like service departments. The UN have a lot of employees are sort of moving around, coming into the country for short amount of times, and there's a big demand for that kind of thing. So we're looking at how we could potentially involve them into the scheme. So it could become very interesting as it goes along.
Just so you know, we've got to save some time for Paul. So
strictly. I mean, design is not a linear thing. It doesn't work linearly. It's a sort of design loop, and things move around a lot. You move backwards and forwards. But really, where we kind of, and I'll leave Rob on from here, is that the yellow is design creativity and the processes. The grey there is the addition of financial creativity. And if they were both in sync, with the same process and the same understanding, then I think that's a model where you can start getting closer to that triangle and, you know, start getting closer to